points on the less. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel less a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in August 2nd, 2021, and the eviction moratorium and debt ceiling have both expired, and this is going to have huge implications for the stock market. And I got 3 stocks that I'm looking at coming into tomorrow, but this was a very exciting weekend, and what we're going to be looking at in the market next week, it is going to still have a little bit of earnings, but now there is a lot of political countdowns and things that have started. We got an agreement on the infrastructure deal. Both of those things have expired. You are going to be getting a key jobs report, and then we are still digesting everything we saw last week. So we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to go over everything that happened last week, what we got company news and events over this week, what we're looking for, the plays that we made on Friday, and then the rest of the plays for the rest of the week. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free 99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch the watch list come to life. And yes, most people fight through the week to get to the weekend. But if you fought through the weekend to get to the week so you can trade, then yeah, we are the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything. Post them below and source that info. Shout out to chat, baby. And please do not forget, today is Sunday. Tomorrow is Monday. That's usually how it works. But this is the random account generator. We started this with $500. And on this watch list, all we ask is that you post a specific option trade, strike price, expiration date, all of that. Please make sure that it is below $100. And we do a random comment picker in the morning. We pick a play and we see the performance. So far, account is still up. Chad is still killing it, but we've been watching an interesting quarter. So right off the bat, this week is all going to be about one of the biggest jobs report. It's not going to be jobless claims. You are going to get that, but the non-farm payrolls and now the expectations for the unemployment rate, that is going to be key. So I'm going to take you down to a pretty picture. It's not too pretty, but this is the unemployment rate and what we've seen. But what makes this so important is that now, if we come in at the high of the expectations, I believe it is about 900,000 jobs on the non-farms. If that comes in, that is going to bring our employment rate or unemployment rate down to 5.7, which will be the lowest since we've had pretty much since 2020. So tying this into the Fed and everything else, that is going to be key. But at the same time now, the politics of everything we got, that is what we want to watch for. I will touch a little bit on the debt ceiling and eviction moratorium and all of that, but both of those are key events and both of those start a timer, because now it's either going to be more action ahead is what we're going to see or not, and that's related to both the debt ceiling and what's going to happen with evictions or state budgets and all of that. So the eviction one won't affect the market as much, but the debt ceiling, that could come into play. And then on top of it now, it looks like we did get the infrastructure deal passed, so we will see how that plays out throughout the week. But nonetheless, you're still going to get earnings. We saw a lot of those last week. Don't forget with Amazon and Apple and Microsoft last week as well too, but we are going to hear from Berkshire Hathaway, Alibaba, Roku, Uber, and GM, and that's just to name a couple. So you are still going to be getting big companies. However, like we said last week, we've got most of them out of the way now, so things might chill out and people might start focusing on something else. But like I said, the digestion from last week and then the bigger, broader developments over the weekend, that is what we need to be watching for. And then you can see here with this pretty picture, the biggest focus over the weekend was Amazon's results. If you remember, they guided down. So now out of the whole FANG or Microsoft, Apple, and Alphabet, you know, the big four that are above the 1 trillion market cap, you now have Amazon slip into the 4th place. But even on the technical indicators, they are still not into oversold territory. So however this plays tomorrow, you've been seeing the market breadth. I still think this is going to be a definite key to watch as we mix in some of the other stuff from this week, because now some of that big earnings hype in the Fed, it is gone out of the way. So what is the market going to react to? Other than that, it should be a pretty straightforward week. I think there's going to be a lot going on. You're still going to get ISM manufacturing numbers, trade balance data, initial jobless claims, all of that. So there will be a lot to look at, but some of the more bigger, broader political actions and events, those are probably going to take key, or at least the discussion of that. So those are going to be the main thing coming into this week. But now, as far as the company news and events, every single weekend we've been expecting some negative, or we've seen some negative Chinese news. But now this time here over the weekend, the China's security regulator, the CSRC, they called for talks with the SEC over their decision to halt the U.S. IPOs of China companies. That's the news that we got Friday, that the SEC will no longer allow China companies to IPO in the United States until they get better risk disclosures. But over the weekend, the CSRC reached out and they said that they want a suitable resolution to what has just happened in the last few weeks. So we will see how that plays out, or if there is any other escalation even coming into the morning. There's been that regulatory crackdown, so watch even some of the companies, Baidu, or if there is any other industries. But that's going to be key. The next big piece of news, you heard a lot of people talk about it already on the weekend, but the infrastructure deal is almost done and most of the text is complete. So now they've gotten a lot of the text written out. This does have implications for crypto, and some people are kind of thinking it's a little bit better now that some of the laws and taxing rules will be outlined for crypto. But most people, even Schumer and anybody on both sides of the political aisle, they are expecting that this will most likely pass this week. So we will see. But that is definitely going to be key. We even have some plays tied to it, so watch that. Then the eviction moratorium, it is now expired with no extension, meaning people can now get evicted, and members of both parties, Republicans and Democrats, they are both just not happy. They're pretty salty about how it played out. I believe they made a move on it today or Saturday night, and they really tried, but you saw a lot of people just kind of more disappointed that there was only calls to actions about it on Thursday. If you guys remember, we talked about that, but everybody was saying they knew this was going to come up, so the fact that they were not able to get it, that was not good. But now a lot of people are pushing towards the states to see if they get that money that is already out there, because there's a lot of money given through the bailout funds that are designed for the renters and landlords. So there's a lot of now Congress calls for the states to start getting that out there. So we're going to watch that, but that is a big deal. And now it ties into the next one, because these are all just expirations, and it's kind of showing you the political landscape here. And pretty much if the eviction moratorium, this is my opinion here, if they are not able to get this resolved, and we saw it kind of fail over the weekend, this does put a little bit more pressure on the debt ceiling, which now has a lot bigger implications. But over history, it has often came off sounding more surprising than usual, or scarier than usual. So today on Sunday, the U.S. debt ceiling suspension has now ended. So this was back in 2019, because they used to always go back and forth and have to get the debt ceiling limit extended and raised. So eventually they said, okay, we need to figure something out. Let's just suspend the debt ceiling. We'll all agree that we won't look at it, and we'll just say there's no debt ceiling for 2 years, and then we'll come and renegotiate at this, and then they'll start wherever the current debt is. So they froze the debt at like 22 million. I think after everything, it's back up to 28 trillion, not million. Sorry about that. So now they have to either agree to raise the debt ceiling, or they can agree to suspend it again. But now this is what a lot of people are talking about. We have been following along with this, because without any action on this, the U.S. is on a path to default as early as October. So that is just 2 months away from now, but we have seen this situation. You know, this outcome has been avoided in every single debt ceiling crisis since the 1980s. So even though we've been forced to shut down the government or do extraordinary measures, which we've already started in this case, they're usually able to reach a deal. Nobody wants to see this happen, because it usually leads to problems. So this is what I mean by watch out for some of these broader political moves, even how people talk about it, because whatever they mention over the weekend here, or every single week moving forward, if they kind of don't address it and then only want to address it last minute, like the eviction moratorium, we may be in for a bigger surprise. So watch out for that. But coming into the health side of the news here, again, a lot of people were worried about Delta, and even you've been hearing new talks about another lockdown in the States. But Florida hits its daily record for COVID cases and has now became the U.S. epicenter for COVID currently right now. So let's watch coming into this week. You saw a mixed bag with some of the vaccine stocks over the weekend or last week. So we'll see how those play out, but watch that. Then coming back to the infrastructure, APH, HUBB, JIIINST, TEL, and then UNP, not UMP. But these are the Barron's weekend picks if a bigger infrastructure deal could kind of overcome hurdles. They were mentioning a $1 trillion infrastructure bill. That's why I'm saying a bigger one, but the bipartisan bill right now is agreed upon at like $500 billion. So we will see how that one plays out. And then EDU and TAO, they have earnings this week. I thought this is important because they were the epicenter of what we saw a few weeks ago with some of those crackdowns. So we'll see how that plays out. out another Barron's article, a big piece of news here. I'm sure some of you guys would like this, but FFIE, FSR, and Lucid, these are Barron's EV picks for companies in the EV space with at least $1 billion of cash on their balance sheet, and they're saying that that is their criteria, that retail investors, if they are going to go after these companies, you're better off finding one of these companies with at least $1 billion of cash. Those are the ones that they're liking. So I want to see how this plays out coming into next week. You did see Tesla last week. That was pretty intense. Then coming into some earnings here this week, or you're going to get it, but it's a piece of news with the company Walmart. They filled their chief medical officer position with a medical industry veterans. I forgot who it was, John something, but I want to see how this plays out coming into their earnings. And then finally, Pfizer and Moderna have decided to raise the price of their vaccine in the EU. So we will see how that one plays out tomorrow. But we got our work cut out for us. It is going to be a lot of news, a lot of information, and don't underestimate the digestions and where we're going to go as we wrap up this summer. So I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, I got 3 different stacks that I'm looking at coming into tomorrow. All of them I have plays on, and I want to see if there is any earnings. We've been doing a lot of those strategies there, but I do want to see how we come off with the digestion with some of those bigger names last week, and then how does the market take some of this political news. But the first play I'm looking for is going to be when we did not get any China escalation over this weekend, but I do think this is still in play. I think it's a China play, and I think it could move both ways or big, and it can move in either direction, but I am more on the put side. But given everything going on overseas and their exposure to what's going on with China and all that, I think it's been an interesting quarter. So they have earnings this week. I'm going to be watching that. We made 2 different plays. Remember last week I grabbed those weeklies. I was down 40%. I was showing you guys I got clapped, but then winds started to come down a little bit, so we're only down 20. But then on Friday, I decided to get a little bit more time, and I averaged on another play. Those are up 30%, so you can kind of see how I'm balancing out. We did do that with the Datadog play, if you guys remember that last week, and I ended up selling the shorter term ones and then holding the ones I was down on because I averaged down, made more money on the short terms, but I'm still down on the longer terms. So then it just pretty much allowed me to kind of play and hold it out. You can see here I'm down 30% on these Datadogs, but those other ones I got a 50% profit, pretty much making up most of the value of this trade. So we will see as wind plays out tomorrow. I want to see how they open up, but they are pretty much on the bottom of the chart. We'll see how they get affected, but that is going to be the first play. The second play I'm going to be looking at is AMD, and I made a pretty big call credit spread, and a lot of people were confused on Friday. Some of them were like, how dare you say AMD is going to go down? But I actually think it could go up a little bit, but I want to take advantage if there's any neutral moves after this big run up. So if you come to the chart, even on Friday, they still closed up 3% as the market wasn't doing too good, but since their earnings, they have been shooting up. They were at 90, now they're at 106. It's had 3 constant days is shooting up, crazy big volume. I still think they could go up, but my idea here is that the premiums are so high, it may cool down a little bit, or if it stalls for a couple days here and then continues to go up, it will still keep moving, but some of the way further out the money premiums, those may die down a little bit. So I did a call credit spread. You can see that right here. I shorted 10 of the August 20th 120 calls, and then I bought 10 of the 130s. I got 48 cents a contract, so $480 credit is the max you could get on this one. It's pretty big, but it does require a lot of collateral, and essentially I'm saying by August 20th, as long as AMD stays below 120, we will be able to collect that premium. So hopefully you guys have been getting a lot of examples of this. You'll get to see how it plays out, because essentially if AMD still goes up tomorrow, it doesn't mean that those contracts will go down. So we'll watch that one, but I like that play, even AMD in general. It's made a lot of moves last week, so we will watch how that continues to go. And then finally, Nucor and any other infrastructure play, those Barron ones, I am going to take a look at, but I want to see if we get a move like we did last week. Remember, we made those plays Friday. We started the week, everybody was gassed up off of the news. Now we got even better news. So I want to see if that hype kind of comes in, or if it's a bright spot on the market tomorrow, depending on how everything else plays out. Otherwise, if we don't see that and it does turn around, it could turn into a sell the news type of event. So I'm still holding all of those Nucors. I want to watch how they play out. Depending on what we get, I may even turn it to a premium play, but we will see what happens. As far as everything else, I did make a couple of plays on Friday still. So let's get this down here. We did that AMD. I closed that TTD. I only made 20%, but they're about to have earnings. I did an earnings strangle where I shorted the 65 put and the call, but I closed it slightly down what I collected, only like 50, 60 bucks profit, but I wanted to open up some other premiums, and the fact that I was only up like 20% after holding it for like 2 or 3 weeks and the stock didn't move, I was getting a little bit worried there. We sold the data dogs. I did go with the NVIDIAs. I did 2 sets of NVIDIAs on Friday. We started with the next week 178 puts. I got 5 of them for 40 cents, but then I bought another 5 more here of the August 6 180s as I was able to average down. They got affected in the morning by some of the news with like China and their arms deal, but their arm deal, but I believe arms deal, what I'm saying, but I believe that it was already priced in. A lot of people have talked about that, but depending on some of the chip maker space, I want to see how they perform. It's had a tough time here at 200, so we will see. That one is definitely a little bit more speculative, so we will see how that one plays out, but still watching those. I still like the forward play from last week too, but the NVIDIA and then the SPY, if you guys remember this one, this was a SPY credit spread. We were down on this one almost like $1,000, $2,000, but Friday it fell out of the money. This is why we hold and push it to the wall. If you held till the end of the day, you could have got the full $400 credit. But in this case, I was a little bit panickier in the morning because I was down on this play and I quickly became up. So I was able to walk away with about 30%. So far, the only L play that we got in terms of the credit spread is that SAM one. So we'll see how that plays out. But as far as everything else, watch Amazon. I think this is going to take a lot of eyes tomorrow. Again, it is now on the lower end of the $1 trillion plus market cap company. So we'll see how they play out. Watch Datadog. Again, I sold some of that position, but with some of the news here, I want to see how it plays out, and we still have those Septembers win. Tesla, they did very good last week. Bitcoin had an even great weekend too, and with the infrastructure deal and all that, I want to see how they play out coming into tomorrow. They do go above 700. That could be a little bit interesting. AMD and then Square. PayPal had a lot of bad news. Square came down. I don't think Square reported here, so want to see how it sets up coming into earnings. That one could be very interesting. Then watch Boeing. They had a very epic week last week with the surprise earnings, and they came down. It does kind of remind me of Ford, so watch them. I want to watch Walmart. They had an interesting Friday, but they're still holding up pinned at this level. The premiums did finally drop on Friday, so I do want to see how this one plays out, especially coming into earnings, and we'll see any of that news that they got yesterday. Then Robinhood, it's back. I think we're up on this play, but had a weird late day surge on Friday. Again, I said day 2 is going to be important. It's kind of looking like the Uber IPO, but overall the volume has just been good, so I really want to see how this plays out. Then Airbnb and Uber. Uber has earnings. I don't know if Airbnb is this week, but I want to definitely watch them. Uber looks a little bit more attractive, believe it or not, than Airbnb, but we also got our long-term deposits this week, so we will see how that plays out. We will keep those on watch, but again, we don't have to buy anything right away. We could wait, so we will see, but watch them. Then Lucid, I want to watch how they play after that Barron's article. They're finally trading only a couple days ago under this ticker after they have de-SPAC, so depending on how this de-SPACing process plays out, I want to see, especially with the infrastructure news. And then Tesla, and then finally TLT, baby. It's moving a little bit interesting. You did see the dollar chill out on Friday, and this is really what I want to watch for. I think the dollar is a little bit more important here with the bonds. We did get statements from Lael Brainard, and she's supposed to be the Powell substitute or the replacement, so we'll see how that is. But overall, I want to see if the bonds do get aggressive. If they do somehow gap up and get to this could be a danger zone. Otherwise, I think it will be preceded by any move in the dollar. And as we get some of this economic news and everything else, I think the dollar will tell us a little bit more about bonds. However, we are still at a danger zone with everything, and everything isn't quite as calm as it was a couple weeks ago. Just don't forget this epic move in bonds. We are still up there, even though we've kind of adjusted and it hasn't got as volatile. The rates are elevated or lowered, and that is saying something. So make sure your eyes are peeled, and I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate, healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shine. I need you to remember, if you found the game, you belong in the game. But the Cole loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.